trust me, like I know how much it can hurt. I know how much it can hurt to be the only one at a table of Germans that is not a native German speaker. It can feel a little isolating. It can feel fast paced. It can feel scary and nervous. And none of these things are who you are. It's just how you feel in that moment. And that's okay because with all of those feelings comes growth. I will have to say, it takes feeling those things for it to get better eventually, because the more and more you do it, the less and less it will hurt. So say yes to things and continue to go out. Howdy und servus, y'all, and welcome back to another episode of The Pod Abroad. My name is Paulina de los Santos, and for some context, I am an American originally from Texas who has been living in Munich, Germany the last nearly 10 years. And on this podcast, I share insights about my life and have conversations with several international friends also based here in Munich, where they get to share their stories, cultural differences, and all of that good stuff. So if this interests you, then please consider following along, leaving a comment, and let me know where you're from, what brought you here, and would love to hear that. On today's episode, I will be speaking all about how to make friends with Germans. I am by no means an expert, but I just wanted to kind of share my personal experience over the last nearly decade and what that's been like. So, are you someone who has been in Germany for like 5 years and you realize that you don't have that many German friends? Because same. And that's okay too. I think that's just kind of the nature of what it is to be an immigrant. They say birds of a feather flock together, and I think you should give yourself some more grace. Are you someone interested in moving to Germany and have this dream to make friends with several Germans while here? Then this episode is also for you. Or if you're a German curious on how I perceive you all and friendship, then of course stick around. Thank you so much to people like Opa Andre. I really appreciate it. Stefan also. I think there's so many people who come back every week that I'm super, super grateful for. So maybe this episode is also a little bit interesting for you. So want to explain all about making friends with Germans, because 2 weeks ago I also spoke about, in general, what it has been like to make friends and what you can do to make friends as an immigrant in Germany, but that wasn't necessarily specific with Germans. And I will say that even after being here nearly 10 years, I have simply a handful of German friends. And I think that's kind of by design and like for a reason and kind of reflective of the culture itself. When I look at like my friend group here in Munich, I would say maybe it's like 80-20, of 80 being internationals and 20% being German. That's the nature of living in such a multicultural international city. And that's a beautiful part of it as well. But it's also the fact that I think that many Germans have tight-knit friend groups. It's not the easiest to tap in. And the Germans do say that once you do make a good friend, a real friend here in Germany, then they're with you for life. So there's that. And I will have to say, I think I agree with that. Friendship here is kind of very different than what it is in my home country, in the US. But first off, I wanted to go over a bit about why it's hard. I've been here nearly a decade, Paulina. Why don't you have a whole lot of German friends? And one would think, right? Like I thought even before moving here that maybe like my primary friend group would be German, maybe an ignorant thought. And I consider myself a very social person. I'm a people person. I love, meeting new people, hearing about their stories, learning from one another. And yet it wasn't the easiest over several years. And first off, I want to speak about cultural differences and say that different does not mean wrong, and it does not mean weird. It's just simply different here. And moving in 2016, I quickly noticed that from several of my colleagues within my master's program at the Technical University of Munich. Um, I think there are many different kinds of Germans. And that's also like, I do not want to be just like kind of saying these blanket statements about Germans and Germans are like this and they're only like this. There will be natürlich, some generalizations in this episode, but there are different kinds of Germans. Some people say like, oh, I'm not German. And what does that mean? Like, I think that's like more stereotypical. And some people, I don't know, say, yeah, I'm not German. Some people are proudly German, Kartoffels, which means potatoes. I'm soon becoming a German potato when I get my citizenship. But yes, all that to say is that there are people here that maybe are more stereotypically, and I say that in air quotes, stereotypically German, versus Germans who are maybe more open and curious about other countries, cultures, have traveled quite a bit. And some of the coolest Germans that I have met have spent significant time outside of this country or still live outside of this country. Shout out Isabella, if you're listening to this. Yeah, so it just completely depends. There are so many different kinds of personalities in that. But all that to say is that if you are new to Germany and you come here and you realize that there are so many different social differences and cultural differences and just kind of how we act and speak to one another and little comments and things like that, just know that it is simply a cultural difference. Difference does not mean bad. It's just something you gotta learn, right? And I'm not saying that you need to kind of conform and change who you are in order to kind of mold into what society might want you to be or what you feel like society wants you to be. Do not lose your shine. Do not like dim your spark. But just know that people here are, of course, different than from your home country, especially if that's like Latin America or wherever it may be. Like if you come from a very, very warm, open, super loving, friendly culture, to strangers, that's not necessarily how it's going to be when you get here. And that is also okay. So I think coming to terms with like respecting the German culture is a big one. Knowing that there are these differences, and that's what makes being an immigrant also beautiful, is acknowledging the differences, knowing that, yeah, you come from different cultures, and yet you can find some common ground still. You can have that spark of curiosity for one another and each other's culture and kind of get to dig into that and respect that we were both raised, we as in like me and another German person, like under very, very different circumstances and environments, who have shaped the people that we are today. But appreciating people's differences is very, very important. At the same time, I will say, if you have been in Germany and like you really haven't necessarily found your people like within several Germans that you have met, it could be a thing about environment. If you are like auf dem Land, the countryside, and you maybe just haven't found the right people yet, don't worry and do not settle, because you will find your people. And not all Germans are a particular certain way. There are people who, are more open to internationals, of course, and I think that's very important, is to like not classify all Germans as one particular like subgroup and they all act like this and all of that, because once you start kind of creating these assumptions then and looking at the entire society as like they are like this, you create your environment. You kind of manifest it. So when you really think that all Germans are a certain way, then you're going to be attracting those kinds of people, y'all. So stay positive, be the energy that you want to be attracting, and you will also find your people within the German community as well. Another like reason why it's so hard to make friends with Germans, I would say as an immigrant here, is in my personal experience that I was always in international environments. From the moment that I stepped into this country in 2016, I was part of a master's program that was exclusively taught in English for my courses. And I think there were about 100 or so students there from like, I don't know, maybe 25 countries within my program. So it was like a little mini UN. It was incredibly enriching getting to speak to so many people from so many different places. Like that forever energizes me, you know, like, and it still does, because even outside of a master's program, living in an international city in Europe, like you get to meet people from different cultures, and it's not the same. Like for me, as like in the US, I mean, yes, the US is a melting pot, of course, but many of us are, I mean, you could be first, second, third generation, from first, second, or third generation immigrants. And was that English Englishing? I think y'all know what I'm trying to say. You could be from your grandparents that were immigrants, but like, and you still, of course, hold that culture near and dear. You could have the language and everything, but oftentimes when I've met immigrants here in Munich, it's been like, oh, like they are the first gen. And there's something so cool and so special about that as well. That I have friends from Italy, from where else? Suddenly I've like forgotten like where everybody comes from Bulgaria, from Italy, from the UK, from the Philippines, from Nigeria. And it's just so beautiful to get to learn about them as well. But sorry, as a big side note, international environments, right? So I go back to Texas after I think 2 years of my master's program, and my friends and family ask me, "Hey, Paulina, like how is it? Like how are all your German friends?" And I'm like, "All my German friends, like, oh, I have like two." Which, you know what? I should be grateful for. That was after maybe 2 years living in Germany. And I would always kind of say like, oh, I have friends from all over, and that's okay as well. I do not think that you also should be like extremely harsh on yourself, to neglect friendships just because someone's not German. That's also kind of odd. I didn't go out I didn't seek out friendships that, no, what am I trying to say? Yeah, I didn't come to this country and be like, you know what? I'm not going to be friends with anyone's except Germans because I want to integrate. So I'm only going to become friends with Germans. Like I didn't come in with that mentality. And I think that's like a harsh one, especially given like the international environment, like I said, in cities within Germany. So because of the fact that I studied in an international program for my master's, and then I went into I worked at Allianz for many years, went into an international department there, and then also worked for an international small company afterwards. I have always been speaking English on a day-to-day basis. When it comes to my household now, with my partner Tim, we speak English, even though he speaks German. He's also a native English speaker. So I speak English at home. I've always spoken English at work. And I spoke English through my master's program. So I often would tell my friends and family, like, oh, I kind of live like in a fake Germany that by my own responsibility, that I have created. And I think many, many internationals have found themselves in that situation as well. I mean, it's not a fake Germany. That's the reality. It's a real one. It's a real one for us. And that is the reality of many, many immigrants in this country. But it's not necessarily by choice. So in order for me to make friends and really like practice my German and kind of get out there and properly integrate, it has taken being unemployed. the last several months, being unemployed here in Germany has done incredible wonders for my integration, shall I say. And I took an intensive 6-week German course last fall where it was Monday through Friday from 9 to 1 p.m. That was really, really a beautiful experience to get to do that. It's something that I was never able to do prior to coming here because I jumped into my master's program and immediately after I jumped into working and I have been working ever since. So in doing so, I have felt significantly more connected to my community. I think that also leads me to say that learning the language is so incredibly important, especially if you're trying to make friends here in Germany with Germans and truly integrate. Being here almost a decade, it's crazy. I have felt like I've integrated on a deeper level so much more in the last 6 months of my life than I had in the prior 9 years. And that is because of speaking more German on a daily basis, volunteering at my local senior center. It's called ASZ, and they have several different locations in Munich, many of which are supported by the German Red Cross, the Alten- und Servicezentrum. It's been incredible getting to speak with seniors and get to know them. And for whatever reason, I do not feel judged by like children and seniors when it comes to speaking German. So I just feel very, very comfortable. That has completely changed my life for the better and like has made me feel more integrated. And I don't know what to say like as the bottom line of this, other than like if you're working, give yourself some grace. Because yeah, even like 2 months into my unemployment and like my German journey and deep integration journey, I like things just like opened up for me of really getting to connect with people in German. And that's what language does. And that's the importance of it. And it's not like I didn't want to do that prior. I did, but you have to give yourself some grace when life is so incredibly stressful, like the stress of integrating as an immigrant itself and just trying to stay afloat, understanding systems, performing at work. Like you want to do good at work and then you're supposed to tell me that like in the small free time that you do have in the evenings and on weekends that you need to like be challenging yourself and learning more through language. Like it's hard. It is hard. So give yourself some grace if you are working full time and haven't yet made as many German friends as you thought you would, because that is definitely a challenge. For sure. Another challenge, I think, and like why it's hard to make friends, particularly with Germans, is that Germans really kind of differentiate between like a Bekannte and a Freunde, meaning like someone you just know of and an actual friend, like a real friend. And to make a real friend with a German also takes time. Good things take time. And they say, I've heard the phrase actually that like Germans are like coconuts, that they are hard to crack. But once you crack them, there's a nice little like sweet center. And I think I would agree. I think I would agree as well. It does take a bit more time for them to warm up to you, opposed to my experience like with making friends in Texas with fellow Texans or Americans, and that's okay. And another I think maybe like hardship is maybe certain people might have preconceptions of me, like yeah, like just from American stereotypes, and maybe they might mistake my outward friendliness as being insincere when that is simply who I am. My energy might feel a bit too much for certain people, and that's okay because we don't have to be friends, of course. And maybe I don't want to be friends with people who just like maybe assume the worst in me based on my nationality or my outward personality, of just being friendly to strangers in general. So that could be a reason as well. Maybe some people like you're just too much for some people, and that's okay because you will not be too much for the right people who are curious about you and who you have curiosity for. I think curiosity is a big one when it comes to like making friends with Germans, is that like you need to find the Germans who are curious. Like, because friendship is something like when I think about my friendships with my German friends, um, it's an ever lasting back and forth of asking each other questions and kind of learning from each other's cultures. So when you are open to that, when you find someone who is open to that, then like you got a good thing. When you guys vibe, when um they're a good time and so are you, then that's kind of when the magic happens. Another challenge, of course, is that Germans prefer fewer kind of deeper friendships rather than like more superficial connections. In the US, like sometimes we're just like big networkers. We got to network, got to meet people. It's okay to have surface friends. And like there shouldn't necessarily be a negative connotation to that phrase, I want to say, because that's okay. Like not every friendship is going to be like a deep, profound, meaningful one. And we have different friends in our life for different reasons. All of which can be sincere, like from an American perspective, I'd like to say. um so yes, sometimes, many times in Munich, especially with Münchner Kinder, which are people like born and raised here, they are rare to find. It's kind of like they have their own friend group and they don't want anymore, which like valid. I mean, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but I like that could never be me. Could never be me. I'm really someone that I'm like, the more the merrier. Hey, hi, hello, how are ya? Howdy und servus. No. What am I trying to say is that like I truly hope that I can make friends at every point in my life. And that's something that like I think would be very fulfilling. I hope to never ever have an attitude of like, oh, like I'm good. I don't need more friends. Um, which on the other hand, some Germans would be like, oh, well, you don't nearly have time for all of them, which like, you know what? Fair. Cause like it is also nice to be a good friend too, and like truly catch up with the ones near and dear to you. So I get you Germans of like wanting to keep your close circles tight. I think that's also fair and I respect it as well. So I did also speak upon language, and I just think that a little bit back on that point is that if you want to integrate here with the Germans and make sweet friends, you have to learn the language. You have to keep trying. And I know how hard it is, and like all the excuses we can give ourselves, many of which can be valid. Like some people are foreigners having children here, and you just got a lot going on. But in order to truly integrate, like there's no getting around it. There's no getting around it. And the more German you speak, the easier it will feel. I'm telling this to myself as well, and I've experienced it firsthand the last 6 months that, yeah, it's just gotten a lot lighter, like the more and more I speak, and it's less daunting. So learn German as best as you can. Like even make mistakes, like they will appreciate it. You will gain the respect of Germans if you care. Caring is hot. So learn the phrases, learn what you can, even if you're not perfect, like do your best and keep improving every day, little by little. It'll get there. Briefly, just want to speak on where you can meet Germans, more practical. Of course, at work, I mean, depends on your company itself. If your company's a little bit more older, more mature, and like you just don't relate to your colleagues, that's fine too. That can happen. That can very well happen. But some company environments that are maybe more young and vibey, startups as well, figure that out. A lot of times, like they'll have like some activities after work drinks or like um whatever that may be, little gatherings, like say yes more often and get out there, even in German speaking environments where you're just like trying and let them know you're trying. Trust me, like I know how much it can hurt. I know how much it can hurt to be the only one at a table of Germans that is not a native German speaker. It can feel a little isolating. It can feel fast paced. It can feel scary and nervous. And none of these things are who you are. It's just how you feel in that moment. And that's okay because with all of those feelings comes growth. I will have to say, it takes feeling those things for it to get better eventually, because the more and more you do it, the less and less it will hurt. So say yes to things and continue to go out. There's different like Vereines, like Verein, and I'm pretty sure there was not an S. Dude, I'm saying Denglish. Like a Verein is a club in Germany, and they're like officially registered clubs. So there's a club for everything, man. Like you want to do sports, you want to do run club, you want to do whatever that is, or choir, or like your dog club. Like you will find something. Stay consistent, keep showing up with whatever you do, with whatever you join. Do something and do it well, like do it consistently. Like don't just go one off and think that you're gonna make your friends, but keep going. Show up every Tuesday at 7 p.m. at the Stammtisch or whatever that may be, and kind of set your little roots there. There's also German schools, so the Volkshochschule and different courses. There are, of course, like when you're learning German, like you're going to have a lot of more internationals there as well. But there are also different events that these organizations host for specific interests as well. And like sometimes there's even like tandem partners that you could get. So a tandem partner is when, say, like a German wants to be learning Spanish. And say if you're not a native Spanish speaker, then you guys meet on a regular basis that you determine and you speak a little bit of Spanish together. You speak a little bit of German together. And I think that's also a really nice way to kind of connect with people. Stammtisch. A Stammtisch is such a cool thing. Do we have a word for Stammtisch in English? It is like it translates to standing table, I believe, in English. We would not say that. Basically, it's like when you have a group of like a certain group of people who have a kind of regular reservation at a bar, at a pub, whatever it may be, at a restaurant, that's like, oh, we meet every first Tuesday of every single month. Or for the hardcore, we meet every Friday at 9 p.m. at this certain place. I think those are pretty cool for whatever reason it may be. Volunteering. Volunteering is awesome. I wish I had done it sooner, but the senior center that I volunteer at is only operating during like classic business hours. So I couldn't have when I was working full time, but it's been incredibly impactful on my life. I don't know how much more I can say about it. I'm just so grateful that I am volunteering with seniors right now. Um yeah, so I think in the end, you got to kind of just put yourself out there and say yes, commit to things, and be open to learning about a new culture and new people. I think oftentimes there's a focus on the negatives when one moves abroad. And I know a lot of people come online and say like, oh, Germans are like this and Germans are like that and blah, 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 blah. Which like, I mean, two things can be true at once. Like there are people who act a certain way and maybe it's just like not a favorable vibe, and yeah, they're there, but not everyone's like that here. Be open to learning about their culture, be open and interested in new people. I think being genuinely interested in someone and their life here and where they come from is something so beautiful. quality, not quantity, when it comes to integrating with Germans and making a German friend. And I think I just want to finish in saying a shout out to all of my German friends. I was going to say all two of them. I'm just kidding. There's more than two now. But if you're a German friend of mine, thank you so much for letting me in and trusting me to be your friend. I am so grateful. I love learning from you and your culture, and will continue to do so. So if you've made it to the end of this episode, thank y'all so much for tuning in. What has your experience been like making friends with Germans in Germany? Or have you made friends with Germans outside of Germany? Like I said, like honestly, like those kind of Germans are also like such a vibe for sure. But yeah, in the end, I'm wishing y'all all the best. I know it's not easy. It's a challenge, I think, for any immigrant in any country, kind of learning something new. And it might be a little uncomfortable, and it takes a bit of getting used to on both sides. Be open to it. Be open to learning about the culture and mannerisms and Germanisms and all of that. And you just might warm up to it too. If you've made it to the end of this episode, thank you so much for listening in. And until next week, y'all, thanks a lot. The Pod Abroad's video, audio, and music is produced and edited by Tim Teherne. Make sure to give us a follow and leave a comment if you like this episode.